Birmingham are the best team in League One history. At least that's what the stats would suggest. A big congratulations to Birmingham, who have won promotion back to the Championship at the first time of asking. We're going to be doing a bit of a deeper dive into Blues in today's video, speaking about them and their prospects of going up to the Championship next season and what's possible for this team who's got so much ambition right now. Blues fans, I'd love to get your perspective on this in the comments down below. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a year without you, but you'll be back on it now. So before we actually talk about Birmingham and the successes that they've had in League One this season, I think it's important to point out the context and how they sort of first got into this situation. So obviously, after countless years of just staying afloat in the Championship, eventually last season, reality sort of caught up with them and they were ultimately relegated. It is worth pointing out that they did go down with a really high points tally. They did accumulate 50 points last season in the Championship, but that still wasn't enough to keep them up. Obviously, we had that mental day on the final day of last season where literally all the teams at the bottom of the Championship managed to pull off a win. Obviously, Birmingham got that win against Norwich on the final day of last season, but still wasn't enough to keep them up. So for context, Birmingham last season in the Championship, when they were relegated, averaged around 1.08 points per game. And for context, that's a similar sort of ratio to what either Stoke or Hull have been averaging this season. And obviously, we probably expect both Hull and Stoke to survive this season, so it shows that the threshold for survival was a little bit higher for Blues when they went down. And to be honest with you, even just looking at their squad from last season in the Championship, this team in itself was way too good to be relegated. They were by no means world beaters in the Championship or anything like that, but the quality in this team, even compared to some of the teams who are fighting the drop in the Championship this season, I think it's leaps and bounds above that. Obviously, they had Jay Stansfield on loan last season, who's absolutely fantastic. They had Jordan James there, Bakuna, who I think was a good Championship player, Miyoshi, who had real moments of quality, Sariki Dembele, who's shown at Oxford recently that he can make a difference in a relegation scrap. All in all, this was a pretty good team, I thought Birmingham had, to be honest with you, last season. Certainly good enough to avoid the drop. And it really was just because of some of their crazy decisions behind the scenes that they ultimately found themselves in that situation. You know, appointing Wayne Rooney when they did. The squad clearly lost a lot of confidence after that point onwards. Was sort of October onwards, they went on a really bad run of form and couldn't recover it from there. But I think it's fair to say that all the mistakes they made in the Championship last season have instantly been rectified this season in League One. But now we get to talking about the Birmingham of this season in League One, and when you look at that league table right there, it just re-emphasises how dominant they've been in the third tier this season, having already racked up 95 points, and they've still got 6 games to play. Obviously, promotion was officially confirmed last night, but I think we've all known for quite some time that Birmingham were always going to bounce back at the first time of asking. Now, like I was saying at the start of the video, Birmingham are on course to become, statistically, the best team that League One has ever seen, certainly in terms of an overall points tally. So in League One history, there have only been 4 sides, as of recording right now, who have picked up 100 or more points. With those 4 sides being Charlton in 2011/12, who picked up 101 points, Wolves in 2013/14, who picked up 103 points, Sheffield United in 2016/17, who picked up 100 points. And the last team to achieve this was actually Plymouth Argyle back in 2022/23. They picked up 101 points. Amazing season they had that year, even beating Ipswich to the title, and we all know how well they've gone on to do since. So as things stand right now, it is that Wolves side from 2013/14 who holds the League One record for the most amount of points accumulated in one season, and they got up to 103, averaging 2.24 points per game over the full season. Now, as of recording right now, Birmingham are currently averaging 2.38 points per game in League One, and if they were to average that between now and the end of the season, they'd finish the campaign with 109 points. So they blow the League One record out of the water. Now, that is easier said than done, because a lot of the times when teams do get over the line and they are promoted, it's only natural that a team will take their foot off the gas a little bit. You know, we've seen that countless times in the Championship in recent seasons when teams have already had that promotion confirmed, but there's been such a relentlessness about this Birmingham side this season that I'm not sure that will happen with them in League One this season. Now, how did Birmingham get to this point where they were so dominant in League One? Well, obviously, the elephant in the room is they spent an ungodly amount of money for a League One club in the summer. They broke the League One transfer record not once, not twice, but 3 times in the same summer window, obviously. obviously with Jay Stansfield blowing every other thief at any other League One player absolutely out of the water. If we look at their overall business here from the summer, it was a complete squad overhaul. You look at the amount of players who ended up going, the amount of players who have come in since, the figures that were spent on a lot of these players as well, even not just the regular starters, but regularly spending close to £1 million on a lot of these players. It is a lot of money, even for some championship clubs, that'd be. But this is the new direction of Birmingham. It's the way this new ownership is going about things, and after the years of sort of dour football that Blues fans were subject to in the Championship, I mean, you're always going to get a bit of jealousy from rival fans and things like that, but if you're a Birmingham fan, you're just going to be loving this and you're going to be here for the ride, and I absolutely say enjoy it, Birmingham fans. So this is one of their most used 11s in League One so far this season, and going up to the Championship, I mean, you'd probably replace Alfie May up top there with Jay Stansfield, wouldn't you? But even if Birmingham were to sign no players in this upcoming summer transfer window when they're back in the Championship, and they sort of get their loan players on a permanent basis, I genuinely think that a team like this would be good enough to finish mid-table at a bare minimum in the Championship. I really do. I think, as we've seen in recent seasons as well, the gap between League One and the bottom of the Championship is so much smaller than the gap between the top of the Championship and the bottom of the Premier League. You know, we could very well be in for a scenario this season where all three of the newly promoted clubs from League One all survive in the Championship. You know, there is a very good chance that come the end of the season, Derby, Portsmouth and Oxford all managed to survive, and I think Birmingham will take a lot of confidence from that not only they can survive in the Championship next season, but they can immediately compete, actually. Because if I'm being honest, I do think, looking at the state of the Championship, obviously ignoring the parachute teams who are just able to outspend the rest, and obviously the three will have coming down from the Premier League, there is a real gap, I think, for Birmingham next season to leapfrog a lot of these teams in mid-table in the Championship, sort of in this region here. Certainly if they have that financial injection, which I'm sure they'll get in the summer as well. I don't want to get too carried away with them right now, because obviously a lot can change between now and next season. We don't know what sort of squad they'll be working with. Their manager is obviously a total unknown at this level as well, so that's something to factor in. But when teams like Birmingham come up from League One with momentum, wind in their sails, something special can happen, and I'm certainly not discounting that right now. But Birmingham fans, I would be interested to get your perspective in the comments down below, not just on this season in League One, but what are your realistic expectations going up to the Championship next season, and how ambitious do you think you'll be in this upcoming summer transfer window? If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure to go ahead and do so. We'll have tons of content coming out over the summer, obviously. I've got a feeling that we're going to be talking about Birmingham quite a lot on the transfer rumour roundup, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching though, guys. I'll see you all in the next one.